And also, to become self-reliant, so the idea of a coach is not that they become dependent on me. It's like very quickly we have to make them dependent only on themselves, not on anybody else around them also, because only then you can chart the path for your life. I mean, happily, because nobody is going to be around all the time. So you have to have it, you have to depend on yourself. So that is something they understand.
Hello everyone. In today's episode of Mitti Ke Rang, we have with us Ms. Shilpa Agarwal, who is a life coach, a writer, and a wonderful person with positive vibes, who have impacted so many people in her lifetime. So let's dive into our podcast to know more about her. So thank you for joining us today in today's episode. Ma'am, it's an honor that you have made time to be with us.
Thank you, Khushi. I mean, it's my pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me.
So how's your work life looks like these days?
Actually, because of the lockdown, nothing much has changed for me because it's shifted more or less online now, whether it's a workshop or it's one-on-one. But I'm still hoping to start meeting people again in person because it's different when you meet people in person and work with them. Having said that, I also work with clients outside of Chennai, where I live. So then it becomes online anyway. So it's been good. I'm building my work, enjoying that process. So it's been quite good.
Yeah, it's like a personal touch that's been missing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so before we start, I would like to know what is life coaching and how it works, what are the procedure, and how can one find a proper life coach for themselves?
Sure. So I'll answer it one by one. See, what coaching is, a life coach is like a guide for individual's goals or whatever challenges or whatever changes they want to make. So what happens is, see, a life coach is investing their time in understanding how the mind works, what is the impact of our thoughts and belief systems, and we gather a lot of skills and trainings to understand human behavior, to understand how our emotions are, and how can we, what are the best practices where we can help ourselves, how can we better understand ourselves. So in short, a coach is dedicating their time so that when we work with people one on one, we are able to help you help yourself. Like, that is the idea of a coach. We become like a guide, and there are options to work with a coach. You can opt for a smaller package, like just work for a few sessions, or you can opt for a long term period where you really understand yourself and you understand it at great length. How can you be so self reliant that you are not a prisoner to your own limited belief systems or negativity, and you know how to grow yourself in a faster way. So there are many ways coaching works. So that is coaching. And people come for various goals. It could be they a combination of, it's always a combination. People may say, I want to grow in my career, or I want to become a certain way, or be more self confident. But there are always many layers of goals underneath that goal. So it becomes a combination, and it's pretty much a delightful experience because it's a very warm, very understanding session which we have with people, where you're able to be free, and you're able to be in a place where you can just speak from your heart and just be yourself, and you can have any emotion or any thought without any judgment. So it becomes a wonderful process. It's also it's light-hearted in nature, like the though you may have insights which are filled with depth, and but it's light-hearted in nature. So it's an enjoyable process, I would say that. And if to answer your question, how can people find life coaches? I think each person has to, see, there are two ways. See, one is if they connect with their content. See, each of the coach, is known to people or market their work with their content. So one of the ways to know is whether you are able to connect with that person's content or that person's thought process or way of functioning. That is one way. Otherwise, you enter into a conversation. If you can shortlist a few people, you can find them online on various platforms, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook, or even on Google, and then you speak to a couple of them, and then it gives you an understanding. And usually, how I work is, I give them an option, like they can just opt for a single session first, and then if they like the experience and if they are comfortable, then you can discuss further options.
So that is nice, like how you represent yourself and like in one single session, and then if they like it, then they can join you for lifetime as well.
Absolutely. Like for any longer period, usually some coaches work for 6 months, 3 months. I also try to keep it flexible. Like I recommend at least try 5, 6 sessions, because then you have a better understanding. But there are no rules. I keep it very flexible because our industry is still new in India
Yeah.
compared to the West. So not many people are aware of what coaching is. So instead of binding them, if they have a positive experience of sessions, then it helps our industry as well. So
Yeah, that's true. Also, you were a writer first and you were a freelancing journalist as well, right? So how did you come across the life coaching, and what was the time that you drifted your career from writing to a life coach?
so when I was working as a journalist, I quite enjoyed it for a very long time. But then I think towards the end, I realized I wanted to do something of my own. And I wasn't sure exactly what. I was contemplating a few ideas in my mind, but nothing very seriously. And then what happened was, I came across a coach's article in a magazine, and I thought that this seems like an interesting job. But there wasn't much information about what a life coach is a few years ago. And then I also interviewed a coach when I was working for a newspaper. I interviewed a coach from New York, and I thought this sounds really interesting. It's combining my interests. Like to a coach has to write, he has to speak in workshops, and they get to help people. And also at that point, I was very much interested in the personal growth industry. So I was reading a lot of books and attending a few workshops, and watching a lot of videos. So I think that naturally, I think and I was also meeting a lot of people. Somehow my life was making me meet people who are in the personal growth industry, either on a personal level or professionally. So somehow I think the dots got connected, and I started as an intern, and then I started getting trained in this profession. So that's what it was for me.
So how was the journey till now, being a life coach? Like how it changed you inside and within?
It's actually, not to sugarcoat it, it's not been very easy, because as a coach I had to really make a lot of changes in me, and pretty quickly. Like pretty quickly being, see, if I'm working with somebody one on one, I can be honest with them that this is where I am at. I don't have to project myself a certain way. Yet I have to be putting in the effort of looking into my own weaknesses or my own shortcomings, and where I lack, and what are my areas of, and also while building my strengths as well, not just into weaknesses. It takes effort to build your strengths, and also to overcome what's not right. And it was not always easy to keep on. I have a coach of my own, so there have been times where you have to keep looking at your own thoughts, and what's not working. So sometimes initially it used to feel a little not so easy for me, but gradually then it starts to become like your second nature. At the same time, it's very beautiful, because then you realize that, okay, there is so much in you that you can actually change. And then when you change so much, then you realize any further change becomes easy. Like, okay, if I could do so much, then I can do. And then when you start seeing, because you looked into your own self, and taken care of what needs to be taken care of, it becomes easier to help people, because you're able to see the same things. Because in a way, more or less, people are similar, somewhat here and there. Somewhere we have a lot of similar traits, and thought processes which are alike. So then it becomes easier. And then when you see that your experiences and your effort helps people, and you're able to influence people, then it keeps you motivated to do that more and more. So it's been like a good journey as well, and not so easy at times. I didn't know that life coaching would entail so much of my effort to change as a person, because uh, the way my training happened, it was very simple. If you are going to be a good coach, then you have to practice what you preach. Otherwise it just becomes like, you read or you learn something somewhere and then you just share it with people. It doesn't work that way. Only if you're living it, there's a conviction in you when you speak to people, when you work with people, and then you can do your job better then. So yeah, it's
Yeah, so
been a good mix for me.
that is right. It should be like what you practice, you should preach that practice, right? So like in our in India, it's like a very new industry. So like what was your reaction when you come across this, and what happens when a person goes to a very new industry like a life coaching? So there is a pressure from the family as well sometimes, that okay, this is something new, how it will go. So did you had any fears of that, like will I be able to do it, will I be able to create that impact before starting?
Yeah, yeah, I mean all of that, because I also feel like this would be a profession which would probably be judged by people who are not aware of what it is, like what is life coaching. And I also wasn't very always confident that I would be able to help people when I work with them. It used to come in waves. There were days when I used to feel like, yeah, I can help them, and there were days where I used to have all of these doubts. But I think that's the beauty of starting something new and entering a new industry, and also an industry which is not as widely popular here in our country. But at the same time, I try to take it in a positive spirit, that if it's something is not widely spread or known here, it becomes, I can't keep saying that no, this is not so popular here. I have to play a part in helping the industry become popular. And I do that, like I put out posts educating about people, educating people about what coaching is. I very excitedly share. Initially it wasn't like that, because I had my own qualms about and or certain doubts about, not doubts exactly, but something I wasn't as confident as I've grown to be. So I used to have that, but now I'm very excited. I tell people, and people just come in and they try and they have such a lovely experience. So now it's getting better, and I'm still hoping that we all coaches can do more efforts so that people don't confuse this with counseling or with other modalities of help. This is different, it's completely a different ball game. So yeah, and then also as far as family support and everything, not everybody is aware of what it is. Only now slowly people around me and a lot of people are getting to know. And I think my people who are connected to me either personally or via social media, I think now they must have a good idea of what it is, because enough and more posts I keep putting out. I share experiences of clients, I share testimonials of them, and some videos also. And so it's and also I have seen a lot of openness among people about the clients who come to work with me. Like they also feel like this is something nice, this is something very helpful. So it's been good that way, I would say.
Okay, so you mentioned about like the topics like introspection, that is very important, right? So in like recently I came across a news article that the burnout have been increased because of the COVID-19 and the work from home culture. There is anxiety, there is depression, suicide rates are increasing. So what are your opinions, and how can one, you know, uh, practice this mindfulness and these things so that they can improve themselves and not face these self doubts and
you know
judgments?
it's to understand that you have to make any change or to break any way of thinking or a negative way of being or attitude. I think you have to really understand one thing, that it's not going to happen overnight for you. And yet you have to have that effort which becomes a practice. Like you have to have that feeling like, no matter what the situation is, it could be at the moment a pandemic, or it could be any life situation, or it could be a combination of pandemic and issues and other challenges which every life has. We have to realize one thing, that you know you have the practice of being keeping our mind in the present. And it's easier said than done, I understand that. But it's also very taxing to be negative and to live in that fear and to worry and to be scared and to have those doubts. So now we have to decide which, both are tiresome. Like, no, this is tiresome and this is effort in terms of practicing to have a healthier way of thinking, live a healthier, happier life. Okay, so now one has to decide if this is the route they want to go, which is going to pull you down, or this may take effort to come up. Correct, it's not immediate. Like any growth will take time, but it has to be one step after the other, one thought, one word, one action. And uh, many ways. See, for me what works is I have a set of practices which I do, and I also am very close with God. So for me, what happens is, for me, prayer. I have meditation practices, or I have some other practices which I follow regularly, which helps me. So what happens is, not every day everybody is going to feel great on top of the world, but we have to realize that there is no use, and it's absolutely waste of time and energy to be down for a long time. Even if you feel not so good or something, you have a conversation with yourself, or you find a practice that works for you, and but just keep trying it. Don't expect it to work. Try for 4 days, it's nothing is happening, and don't give it up. Like, you have to keep at it. Find something which suits you, any practice or any way of being, eating, a combination of a lot of things. We all know what is good for us, correct? The idea is that we are not able to, or we're not willing to follow it for a prolonged period. And when you follow it for a prolonged period, you realize the benefits of it, and you feel so good that then you're motivated to continue that. But we have to allow ourselves to follow it, at least implement it for a long period, for us to see how amazing we can feel on mind, body, and on an internal level.
Yeah, that is right. So when our clients come to you for some challenges that they're facing in their personal or professional life, so how do you recognize that what challenge they're facing? They might come you for the career, but maybe the problem is in their relationship. That is, you know, uh, so how do you tackle with these situations?
See, for me, I've kept it very simple. I always trust that there's a intuitive guidance in every session. And it's happened, I've had many experiences this way, that when people come in saying, not everybody, but some of them, they say that they want to work on their career. But there's something else inside them which needs more attention. And somehow, my session starts with an intention. Somehow the questions are directed towards that, because I don't see that it's me only who is helping the person. I always believe that I am I am being helped by the universe, and the universe is helping the person, whoever is in front of me, through me. And not just that person, me also. I'm learning in that process as well. So I truly believe in that intuitive guidance. I trust it. I've had enough proof that it works, that it is taking care of it. So now when I go in there, I'm confident that that person will exactly get what they came, what they don't know they're looking for, but what they really need. So that confidence over the period while working, it has set in now.
So you mentioned
And
that.
also,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. And also what happens is, I think the more experience you get with people, you're able to understand why, and you can sense it also. You can have that sense of feeling that maybe there's something else, and then you question them. And also the process of coaching is so brilliant that you are put in a situation where you have to think about things which you normally wouldn't do it on your own. There's a person who is guided and skilled in helping you think differently. So that process, along with the intuitive guidance in combination, then helps the person.
Yeah, so you mentioned about intuitive guidance that I want to, if you can emphasize more on it, like how it works and how can one find their intuitive guidance in their career
Yeah,
or in their personal or professional lives. So I just want if we can put more focus on it.
yeah. See, actually, intuition is something that all of us have it. And the thing is, we aren't able to listen to it. It's like a lot of static. See, when there's a lot of disturbance, the signal isn't clear. So what happens is, the more you connect with yourself, it could be via a practice of journaling, via meditation, or via chanting, prayer, many ways. However, the more you connect with yourself, and the more the negative thoughts in your life and the negative attitudes go down, keep going down, the more you're able to hear what your heart is telling you, what your and the best way to hear your intuitive guidance in general, not in a session, I mean, in general, is in silence. Like that is where whatever the voice inside is the most clearest. Like you can hear it most clearly then. So it's again a practice. You have to focus on it. Normally we don't even want we don't think about intuitive guidance. We are thinking about how do we get better at work, how do we
Yeah.
lose more weight, all of that. So if you are wanting to become more clear on how where is your intuition guiding you, then you have to start, and life will start guiding you in that direction. It's like when you look for a job, correct? It's very simple. I'll give you a practical example. When you look for a
Yeah.
job, then you'll ask people, okay, do you know anybody in this company? You will go up online and you'll figure out, a similar options to work with. And then you will somehow find that without your effort also, some or the other door or somebody, some friend or neighbor may tell you, hey, do this. That's
Yes, yes.
exactly what it is with this as well. Like if you want it, then you may come across either a book or some video or a coach or something, or your voice telling you, hey, listen, do this, or go on a walk in the evening, whatever it is. And that is how one starts on it, and then it becomes clearer and clearer over time.
Yeah, that is beautiful. That how we have to listen to your intuitions, and so while practicing your life coaching, so you came across some challenges with the clients, or difficult clients that you're unable to recognize what exactly the problem is. So was there anything?
Yeah, more than see, there has been one client where I actually truly didn't understand because it was beyond my ability. It was something I don't know what it was exactly. But otherwise, what I've noticed is somehow there's this there's some degree of help which is achieved in every session, and I think that is more than enough. Because what happens is neither even whoever it is, nobody can change anybody's life overnight. There's always a process. So there's some degree of help. Either people get some guidance, or they get some support, encouragement, or they realize certain things. There's a lot of insight and realization which can happen in sessions, and they think over it, or they feel lighter after sharing things which they haven't. So it's all a combination. So more or less, I've been blessed enough that more or less I don't have any memory of except that one person whom I wasn't able to help. So I requested them to find out some other help. I've always found that somehow or the other something has worked for each person who has come for whatever period, even if they would have come for like 2 sessions also. Like they were happy with their experience, because it is a lovely experience, I must tell you that. So
Okay, so do you have any successful stories as well that that still they are in connect with you and tell you, okay, I've achieved these things?
I actually have my definition of success stories has changed over time. I think a person, when they're going back happier after a session, that is a success story. Because what happens is, like, who gets to define what success is actually. And in my work, I ensure that, success is not just when you achieve certain thing, but how you are feeling, your state of being, your state of mind. Like, how confident are you becoming as a person, how accepting are you becoming of yourself, how non-judgmental of you're becoming, how negativity is weeding out of you. And at the same time, when you work towards your outer goals and in your inner goals, I think that combination becomes great. But yes, I do have some interesting stories. There have been people, there have been young people who have channeled their issues into something productive. And there have been cases where women, they were either not having any direction or the confidence to pursue what they wanted to do. So they've started to their own careers. So that is very gratifying to me. Some of them have come with me for some issues emotionally or attitude wise, and they've been able to make progress in that. So that is really interesting. So there have been like all kinds of amazing stories where you meet people, and then you also there so many people. There was an artist who wanted to, grow bigger, and so she's flourishing now. So there have been like so many interesting stories, which makes me very happy when I work with them, and also they add to me when I work with them, because I learn from each person. So it becomes a very good collaboration that way. I think people are mistaken to think that a coach is only helping people. I think they are being a lot more helped in the process of their own growth when they work with people. So that is something that's been my experience.
So what is the inspiration that drives you to be in this path? And what are the teachings that you have and you always keep in mind whenever you deal with any client?
So see, my inspiration I think comes from like even when I was a young girl, I used to tell my grandmom, looking at these motivational speeches on television in Hindi. She used to watch them. I'll be like, no, even I want to inspire people someday. So I feel like maybe there's a part of us that knows somewhere, and and which is why my innate nature, my inherent nature always was that I'd like to be helpful for people, as my friends or somebody I knew. That was my inherent nature. It's just that now I have a profession around. So I've always been that person naturally. It's a nature of mine. And then I feel like now that I've started doing it professionally, what keeps me going is I feel like there's a lot of improvement all of us can do in our behavior and our thinking, and not enough people are talking about it, and not enough people are discussing a lot of positive changes which we can all do. All of us need that. And I feel like I can be one of those people who is actually doing something about it, whether it's through my blogs or whether it's through my I do plan to write more, have my own WordPress blog, and contribute a lot more content wise also, because one-on-one and workshops you can only work with certain number of people. And I feel like discussion about the nature of real happiness, the nature of our mind, the nature of thoughts, how we can change our thinking, and why we must change our thinking, why we must work on ourselves, what are the good practices. I feel like there are a lot more of us who can contribute to such ideas which can help everybody. So I feel like that's where my drive to work in this industry comes from. And I don't know. I just most days, to be honest, most days I love my life. There are some days where there are challenges where I may not be in a great state of mind that day, but I still there's a love for life, and I always somehow know even then that it's not going to be a permanent thing. So that feeling is always there inside. So I have developed a great love of life. The more I've discovered myself, and the more I've discovered how simple life can be. It doesn't have to be that complicated. I'm still learning, but so far all these things keeps me excited. And how I could be not in such a great state of mind due to some reason, and yet when I work with people, I completely forget about what's going on, or even something was there, and all of that. So I feel like there are a lot of multiple reasons, and plus this work genuinely gives me a lot of happiness. Like I feel really good being being of use, being of help to people, and learning daily. Because as a coach, you have to develop the eye of a student, because you become a student first. More every experience of your life then becomes like a teacher. Like you have to look at it from that lens. Only then can you understand things better. So it's been really nice for me.
Yeah, it's like going into someone else's shoes to recognize
Yeah.
what the problem is all about. Yeah, that
And
is
you have to
wonderful.
become a better person than before. I mean, in this field, you have to daily work at becoming a better person, with a better character. Because then when you coach people, it just becomes as natural as breathing. You don't have to use any skills. It's just you. So the more better people we become, which is again something which we have to work at every day. So then your coaching also then starts improving significantly that way.
Yeah, it goes with the flow actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so was there any instance when you learned something from your clients? You came across some new case and you actually learned that, okay, this is something that I should also work on.
Many times actually, and I've been initialized, to be honest, also like, listen, even I don't understand what exactly this is, but I'm also working at it. So when I figure it out, like, I remember, being true to myself. Now it's a term which we hear, but I didn't know the exact meaning of it. I knew that I wanted to be true to myself, so I told the person I was working with, listen, I'm working on this. Or if there have been some cases of the people, it's either about an attitude or some habit or something, I'm very honest with people, because see, as a coach, we are not perfect people, we are just normal
Yeah.
human beings. We just have certain formulas which we have learned, which can help other people. Correct. So if I try to project myself as a person who has it all together, it's not going to help me. It's not true. It would be false as well. But yes, my endeavor is always to keep striving and doing better than what I did yesterday. So yes, there have been instances where it's like a very open, transparent. See, if I'm expecting the person working with me to be completely honest with me, I think I owe it to them to be honest myself. So that way, there have been many, many times. Where it's very frank, where I tell them I also had this issue, or I still face it sometimes. And I think that also gives them an added comfort to the people I work with, because then they recognize that they're not alone. Many times when people come in sessions, they feel like they're the only ones who think that way, or who have gone through certain tough challenges, or who have similar. So when they know that there are many other people like them, and sometimes even their own coach is that way, I feel like there's a there's a shared understanding, and it helps them further. I feel that.
That is wonderful. So if someone
What
wants
is
to,
your? May I ask you one thing? Like, did you have any idea about coaching at all before this interview?
yeah, actually, I have done the coaching 2 years back. Yeah, it's been 2 years, and they had the stages actually. So I did. So it was like one relationship, and then some career, and then other stages, 5 stages. And I only did the relationship part. Couldn't do much because of my boards exam. So yeah, I have a fair idea what is life coaching is all about, and then, I have been researching about these things. Although I didn't want you to do a life coach, but yeah, I always love to listen, make changes within myself, do some introspection, learn about intuition. I've been learning about it, but although I'm not good at it right now, but I'm learning. I'm learning on the meditation as well. How I can, build up my meditation powers and, do some introspection, go within. So yeah, I've been trying since like 2 years. So yeah, I have.
No, that's absolutely wonderful to know, because I'm assuming you're still very young since you completed your exams only now. I feel like, if yeah, if we start younger in wanting to go within and wanting to develop these practices that can keep us calm. See, the more calmer your mind is, the more clarity of your intuitive voice is. Whatever your self or your heart is trying to tell you, so the simplest solution is to be calm, and meditation is one of the ways we can be calm. Or even a practice as simple as just sitting for 5 minutes doing nothing. You don't even have to call it meditation. Just like giving a respect to your own yourself. So when we start doing it, it's okay. You miss a day, continue the next day. Don't think that if you have missed 2 days, then this is a waste. Sometimes even I miss days of doing things, but that doesn't mean we have to stop it. You have to still keep doing it, because we don't realize, but these things then really add up. This want to go within, and just letting things be. Then you have a greater understanding, more self-awareness, and more clarity in what you think, and then it results in what you do and how you are behaving as well. So I'm so glad to hear that you have this
Yeah.
inclination and yeah.
Yeah. Because my dad actually introduced me to this. He said, "Okay, you have a very young age. You should actually try." And I just went with the flow. Okay, fine, let's try it. Something new. So yeah, that's the reason why I am much inclined towards this mindfulness and life coaching. So that's the reason I chose you for my one of the guests in the podcast.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So if someone wants to be if someone wants to be a life coach and wants to start her career, so how should one begin? Any advice?
Yeah, see, the simplest way is, see, they have to understand one thing. Even if you do a course in coaching or buy a book in coaching, it's just not even scratching the surface. Because what happens is, one way is when you explore which course you want to do. There are so many courses. I would say opt for a good quality course, and some whatever speaks out to you, like a good book or something to start with. But I would suggest them to have a coach of their own, because I whomever I have studied with in my training or under my coach, I feel like you know you have to be the best user of your own service. Like, you have to be coached so much that it becomes, then you can tell coaching works. Because if you study a lot of books, if you study a lot of, I mean, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, you watch a lot of videos, you do a lot of courses, that's amazing, it's helpful. But then when you change so much drastically, that is when you can pick up a call or tell a prospective client, hey, this works. And why can you tell that? Because you have applied those things and you have worked and you've been coached, and you've been, and that's where I feel like my advice would be, of course, either opt for a quality course or start with a book. Any which ways, it's not going to be a waste, because life coaching, the skills are to be a better listener, to be more understanding, to be more patient. All of these are life skills, any which ways. So it's not going to be a waste. And you have to also understand that this is not a profession just for style, like, okay, fine, I'm a coach and everything. You have to really work hard if you want to build your business, you want to build your name, you want to build your reputation, and you also want to be good and effective at what you do. You can't be superficial in this profession if you want to stand out, if you really want to be good at it. Which is why when you have a coach regularly, it makes a huge difference. I mean, you really, and you continue to keep making changes in you continue to grow as a person much quicker, and then that's when it starts reflecting in your work tremendously. At the same time, if you're curious about it and if you want to explore, just look for a short course or a book or something on those lines, and start there. Then you'll see if it's where it's taking you, and where you, and also workshops, sometimes personal growth workshops. I used to do them a lot as well. The more you go understand yourself more clearer, that's when you can explore that if this is a profession for me or not.
Yeah, that is amazing. So I have one last question for you. What advice would you like to give to your 10 years younger self that, yeah, I should have done this or something like that? So what that advice would be?
Where should I start, Khushi? How much time do you have? there are so
Just
there are
one
so
major.
many. No, there are so many. I feel like I would tell my 10-year younger self to you know believe in myself more, and work harder at whatever you want, and be at it, and understand yourself, and really appreciate yourself for who you are. At the same, there are so many also want to understand that good company makes a huge difference. I feel like my 10-year younger self could have learned that sooner, that you have to have the right people around you, you have to have the right attitude for your own benefit. So there's so much my younger self, which is why I'm so excited. Like, I work with all ages, all groups of people, but I feel like recently I've realized I have this special love for people, working with people in their 20s, because I'm in my early 30s. So what happens is, for people who are crossing over the phase which I've crossed, and all these young people, so I get really excited working with them, because
It
a
gives you
couple
more
of years,
connection actually, right?
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
have
and a couple of years, yeah, I've passed that. So I feel like, whatever I couldn't, and if I'm able to be of help to them in those areas, it feels really amazing that way. So yeah.
so thank you so much for today's
You have
session
to
and
tell me, before we end the session, you have to tell me, what do you like? What would you like to be, as you grow up? I'd
uh,
love to hear that.
Okay, so I actually wanted something to do with the communities, the artisan communities. And actually, to be very honest, I have no idea what I want to do, but I have this like kind of an end goal. Okay, I want to do this, and now how, I have no idea. I don't have any, like, I used to write something, but I've never published it. So I'm thinking out, okay, I should start publishing it, showing it to the people. Maybe I'll get some paths with it. So yeah, this is something rough idea I have. There's nothing like okay, so before starting even podcast also, I had a very good nudge to listen podcast. I used to listen podcast like every day, and my friend introduced me to okay, this is something podcast is. And I was like, okay, podcast ye main kaise kar sakti hu type. So still, like, I have come here, so I'm just thinking, okay, with the flow I'll go there as well. So let's wait and have patience.
Yeah, I'm absolutely just and that is one advice I'd like to give my younger self, to have patience, So lovely. And I really wish you also all the best for whatever you want to do, Khushi. So, so
It's
all the
nice
very best.
at how everyone have their mentors, and we don't have anyone for our life and a mentor for our lives. So we should actually approach to the people like you, who actually guide us how to identify yourself. That is the major.
Absolutely. And also, to become self-reliant, so the idea of a coach is not that they become dependent on me. It's like very quickly we have to make them dependent only on themselves, not on anybody else around them also, because only then you can chart the path, for your life. I mean, happily, because nobody is going to be around all the time. So you have to have it, you have to depend on yourself. So that is something they understand, because otherwise many people, when they come for sessions, they have certain complaints about certain people who are not fulfilling their needs, and then they have to realize that only you can take care of yourself, only you have to look out for yourself. And it is the truth of life. So the sooner we accept it, the better for us. So
Yeah, that is true. If you're dependent on others, so there is no point of going inside and do the introspection. So that is the reason why we go inside and be self-reliant. So
absolutely.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Khushi. I look forward to connecting with you anytime in future again, and thank you so much again for having me at your podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.